even though it's slowly, I can see your plan unfolding, open in front of me. My walk is far from over, strolling, holding on to pieces, the reasons I feel them chosen, rendered incomplete, a trophy far from worthy. Now I know it's steady.
Is the volume okay?
Yeah.
Is Katy Perry dating Orlando Bloom?
I hope not.
Well,
It's really going to ruin my chance with her.
What's that?
If she is, it's going to ruin my chance with her.
Well, it's obviously she likes blondes. Do you think she likes blonde married guys?
I'm not sure.
Old blonde married guys?
I could go back to my high school bleach blonde days.
My wife would kick her ass. Kick her ass. Well, maybe. Yeah, she would. Anyway.
I would expect nothing less.
Parker Condit with the Performance Center in the Aspen Clinic. How you doing today?
Doing well, thanks.
So you played a game of pickup basketball the other night.
Last night.
And what do you mean you got... How did you characterize your feeling today? Destroyed?
Destroyed. I got worked.
How? I mean, worked because physically, or they just were like everybody was dunking over you?
No, nobody was dunking.
No.
We were playing in Basalt.
Yeah.
No, it's a lot of running. It's just a lot of quick sprints, and then
It is.
then playing defense. You got to be kind of down in the low position, quick back and forths, and then on offense, a lot of cutting. It's just like constant running. And there was only 8 people when we were playing full court.
Soccer's a lot like that too.
Soccer's slower.
Yeah, but there's a lot of running, and you run for long distances.
Yeah, but there's a lot more downtime.
But in basketball, you don't see many fat dudes. I mean, there's
Right.
a few. I mean, come on. But there are many.
Yeah. So the guy I was guarding last night, he and his girlfriend, they both had watches on, and they ran, let's be fair, they ran a lot more than me.
Right.
But still, they both did 6+ miles.
Oh, they track their Apple Watch
Yeah.
things.
And that's a lot on a 94-foot court.
Now, you're kind of a technology guy. Are these...
Yeah.
Wait, what are you talking about? You're like Facebooking, you're YouTubing, Twittering, cameraing. You're doing all sorts of stuff.
Sure.
But you're not a Fitbitty guy.
I have a really nice Garmin watch, but I don't wear
You
it.
never wear it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wear my big, fat, gnarly Sunto, and I love it. I've been wearing Sunto for 10 years. But you never wear yours.
I don't. I bought it when I was training for a triathlon, and it made sense then. But for my everyday life, it just doesn't really seem to make sense. I think tracking your steps is kind of a stupid metric to track.
Okay, good. This is where I wanted to go. Thank you. That's called an unintended segue.
Okay.
Because you're taking the steps anyway. And before you bought the watch, you were taking the steps. And after you bought the watch, or do you track your steps so that you can think, maybe if I park 2 blocks away from the grocery store, I'll get more steps today. Is that what you're supposed to do?
In theory, if you have this target of 10,000 steps in a given day.
Is that good?
Yeah. It's 10,000 steps should be pretty much a baseline. That's what the bare minimum anyone should be doing in a given day. Because it's just not that much walking. 10,000 steps is not a ton. But even if you're getting 20,000 steps, I don't know why you're tracking steps. That's not a good metric to track. Heart rate is much more interesting. Resting heart rate in the morning, that's more interesting to me. There's just a lot more. I just feel like tracking things just to track them is kind of silly. It's do you want to count count how many chairs there are in every room every time you walk into a room?
No.
Right. So it's just tracking something for the sake of it. It seems kind of silly.
But if I how many steps am I supposed to take every day?
10,000.
Okay, so if I
kind of the
take
standard.
15,000, does that mean I'm going to shed 5 pounds?
Not a chance.
Well, then what the hell? What's the freaking point?
In theory, it's just to get people moving more, and I guess.
No, I think it's to get people to buy the stupid watch.
That's definitely it. I think Peter Thiel has this quote. I'm not sure, but it's what gets measured gets managed. So I guess if you are measuring it, you can manage your activity a little bit better. But I feel like a lot of these watches, most people just care about the steps they take in a given day. And like I already said, I don't love that metric. And then beyond that, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of information on those watches that a lot of people probably can't interpret. So I'm not big on
Do you have
watching.
does your Garmin have a bunch of things you need a degree in advanced physics to understand?
So if you're in the running setting, it can give you vertical oscillation, which is your average height that you travel with each footstep over the length of your run.
Is that important?
That's something I care about. But like
The vertical rise?
Yeah.
Am I supposed to stay not high?
Yeah, so like the best marathon runners in the world,
They don't go up?
they average I think a 4 to 5 centimeters per step over 26 miles.
So they're almost like speed walking.
They just convert almost all of their energy forward versus up and down. So any movement when you're running going vertically, that is energy that could be used to push you forward. Same thing with like lateral movement. So if you run with a big torso swing, that's all energy that could be used to push you forward. Instead, you're just swinging your torso side to side. So if you want to get really nitpicky, yeah, those watches are great for stuff like that. But I feel like not a lot of people really care about their vertical oscillation or...
Well, I want it to be easier. I want to be a more efficient runner so that I can keep up with those stupid little high school kids in your stupid little Saturday morning running class.
You are a good runner,
They blew me
though.
by a minute and a half. They blew me by a minute and 10 seconds.
To be fair, like that's what they should be good at.
Why?
Because
They don't smoke cigars?
Because they run track.
And they don't smoke cigars?
Yeah. And, you know, Ben's legs are like 2 feet longer than yours.
They're 2 feet longer than my entire body.
Yeah.
But I want to be as fast as them.
You can definitely get below 7.
No, I almost died going 7:55. I wanted to die.
Yeah.
I had to leave.
It's a progression.
The thought of it makes me want to throw up right now.
Well, we're going to be running a mile once a month just to track that. And like your target, it's not going to be to drop down a minute in a month. It's going to be to drop down 5 seconds.
No. A minute. I want to be as fast as the little Allen kid that I watched him grow up. I don't want him to be faster than me.
Well, he is.
He's a lot faster than me, and it ain't cool.
No, but it's just like a progression over time. You'll just need to kind of chip away at that mile time until you get down to a time that you're happy with.
Now,
but to be fair, he's going to be getting faster too.
He's a jerk.
He's not a jerk, for the record.
He's really not a jerk. He's a wonderful kid, but he's a jerk. Okay, so running. You tell me, I was always under the impression that I was supposed to, if I take a long stride, then I won't be working as hard. The longer the stride, the less I'm going to rotate my legs, and I'll be able to last longer, no?
Not really. Like, in theory, that makes sense, but in practice, it doesn't tend to work out that way. Longer strides, it just leads to... Well, first, longer strides tend to lead to overstriding, which means your leg ends up out in front of you. So if you overstride and your foot ends up out in front of your center of mass when you're landing, that's just basic physics. Putting something in front of a body in motion is going to slow it down. So if your foot lands in front of you when you're running, you're putting on the brakes with every single step, and you need to overcome that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the amount of time that you spend on the ground. So all the muscles in your body, they can basically stretch like rubber bands, but the longer you spend on the ground, or the longer you spend with those muscles stretched out, the less bounce you're going to get out of it. So if you spend less time on the ground with like a really quick turnover, quicker cadence, you're going to get more elasticity, and you have to actually push off the ground less, and your body's actually just going to spring off the ground. Does that make sense?
Are you going to teach me how to do that?
You pretty much do it. You
Damn it.
have a pretty good cadence. Like you're a strong runner already.
No, I'm not. I suck. It's my weakest sport.
I know.
That and bowling.
Cardio. I can't help you with bowling.
No, bowling's terrible.
Yeah.
I watched a tournament the other day. I've never watched a tournament before.
Bowling's great.
Are you a bowler?
I have a torn labrum from bowling, but...
Are you supposed to use a heavy ball or a light ball?
You should use a ball that you can... So heavier is easier to get more pin action, but you need to still be able to throw it under control and put it where you want. So you got to find that happy medium.
So you were using the 30-pound ball.
I was using... I don't know what it was. They don't have good balls there at...
No, they don't.
Where
I know.
Bowl Lounge.
Whatever it is. Yeah. They never do. No, it's just like rent... Well, I shouldn't say that. It's just like other places where you rent stuff.
Yeah. It's not ideal.
No. But I suck. Okay, so back to running. So how can I make it easier for me?
Spend more time doing it?
Oh, it hurts. It hurts my knees.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Like, what's going on with it? Does it feel like crackling or?
Every now and then I get a crack in my right one, but on Saturday it was like swollen. I couldn't do the little bendy things. Like, what the hell's up with that? So then I started visualizing me on a treadmill at 9 miles an hour, and my knee buckling and my face looking like Harry Reid's face did after he supposedly fell on his treadmill, whatever. But that's what I started thinking.
Yeah, so running, it's a lot of it's just getting a feel for it. I mean, so much of it, believe me, like people have tried to convince me that running is fun. I'm not in on that at any point.
It's not at all fun.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Shut up.
But
it's
like,
not fun.
It does get easier the more you do it.
And it's the same. Sorry, I hate to be the person to. Yeah, I know you're an exercise guy, but look, I'm sorry. Unless your name is Jesse, exercise isn't fun either. It's not. It hurts.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there
you
too.
You push yourself to, but it's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it so I can feel better doing other stuff.
Right.
So, but it's not. It's not fun to force yourself into pain.
Yeah.
Okay, so I heard a study, and I don't know if you've heard the same thing, but that really all we need to do is run 20 or 30 minutes a day, and we add like years to our life. Anything beyond like 30 minutes is like nothing. Like, have you ever heard that type of theory put out there?
I've probably heard something along those lines, and I'd probably agree with that, just depending on the intensity that you're running.
Well, what intensity am I supposed to run for 20 or 30 minutes?
Pretty high.
Like I was the other. No, I don't know that I could have done that for 3 miles.
No, so it wouldn't be your 1 mile pace. It would be as fast as you could run, basically, for 3 miles, or something close to that, like 90 to 95% of what you could maintain for 3 miles. So like going at a higher intensity, like intensity is kind of the key to a lot of these things. Like if you're just kind of going out casually running at 60% of what you could do, I would argue you might as well be walking at that point.
Okay.
Because all it's going to, like, you're not going to get a big metabolic burn from that, and it's just going to make you hungry
Why
afterwards.
can't I just walk?
Well, then you might as well have. Yeah.
I mean, is there an advantage to like walking versus speed walking, for example?
Speed walking is going to elevate your heart rate a little bit, but even when you're walking, just varying the intensity, just getting your heart rate to spike a little bit, even just walking slightly faster for a minute and then slow for 3 minutes, that's going to be better than just an hour of steady state walking.
See, what I like about running and in general is that you can pretty much just put your sneakers on and walk out the back door, run for 15, 20 minutes, turn around and run back, and you're done.
Yeah, it's nothing fancy.
But it's a good workout. I mean, the people that run regularly, they're not fat. They don't look like Brandon Blocker, who's really, 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 really fat.
I don't know who that is.
It's the morning guy. So, but yeah, I mean, and he walks. He walks a couple times a week.
The thing that I would argue with running, the main downside is the injuries. So it's like
it hurts. My knees hurt.
Like 80%. So running is the most injury-prone sport.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's really not even close. Like CrossFit's number 2, but it's like running. And that's one of those things that always kind of bugs me. People are like, oh, CrossFit, there's so many injuries. It's like, then you know what? You should really be talking trash about running too, because that's far and away number 1 as far as...
I hurt myself at CrossFit too. Because I have no self-discipline. You know this already. I have no self-discipline. So if that guy's doing a ton of weight, I got to do a ton of weight.
Yeah, and you zone out. You don't even listen to me in class. I need to say something like 6 times for you to pay attention.
I just copy the woman in front of me or the guy in front of me. Just do what they do.
It's easier. It's easier than listening to me.
It's not your fault, though. Trust me, I don't listen to anybody. I don't listen to a soul. But ask my wife. She'll tell you. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know running was... Now, that's as a percentage, I'm assuming?
Yep. And there's a big percentage of runners. I think it's like 40 million people a year run at least 3 times a week, something like that. And 80% of them will need to spend at least 1 week not running because of an injury.
How many CrossFitters are
every year?
Do you know?
I don't know.
Because you are a former CrossFitter. Why'd you stop?
I got access to a gym where I didn't have to pay. So I basically have the ideal setup. Like I can do whatever workout I want to, whenever. That was like my
Now, are you crazy like Jesse? You do 2 hours of workouts and then you
Not a
take
chance.
4-hour rest and then do 2 more hours and
No.
look like little Arnold Schwarzenegger
No.
without the gap in his teeth?
Yeah. No, I don't work out like Jesse.
Okay. Okay, so back to running. heel strike or barefoot? Because if you're barefoot and you heel strike, it's going to hurt.
Right.
And you're going to really impact your side. It's going to hurt.
I feel like that's how most people should teach themselves how to run.
Heel strike?
No, barefoot on concrete.
So, but that's just, you're not touching, you're skimming your heel. You're not, right? Is that what it is?
Yep, so you're pretty much landing on the midfoot or forefoot, and then the heel will kind of just like tap down, and the heel tapping down, that'll lengthen your Achilles, that'll lengthen your calves, that'll lengthen your hamstrings. All those muscles stretch out, and as the heel taps down, then everything snaps back up, and that's actually pulling the foot up off the ground.
So should I not heel strike?
Definitely don't heel strike.
Why?
So if you land into the heel, so your heel's a bone.
Heel strike meaning that you hit hard on the heel. I've been doing that. Maybe that's why my knees hurt. Is that why my knees hurt?
It doesn't look like you heel strike.
No, I was heel striking.
So when you heel strike, all of the impact, and when you're running, you're landing with 2 to 3 times your body weight impact onto a single foot. So if you land into the heel, that's a bone. That impact is going to translate up into your shins,
Ow.
another bone.
Ow.
Then it's going to go up into your knee, another bone, well, joint. And then it's going to translate up into your femur, and then finally through the quads you can get some absorption. So you're using a lot of the skeletal system to absorb that impact versus a forefoot strike or a midfoot strike where you're going to take advantage of the fascia in your feet, which are tissues, connective tissues, and then the calves, and then the hamstrings and the glutes. So you get a lot more muscular advantage as far as absorbing the impact versus kind of taking that whole impact on the bone. And then think about the cadence you're holding.
Awful.
Yeah, so if you're running at like a 90 cadence per minute, that's 90 footsteps per foot per minute. You run for an hour. That's a lot of really bad reps of impact. So you can see why if people are heel striking.
Is that why my knees hurt?
It definitely could be. It doesn't look like you heel strike though.
I swear I was heel strike. But I went through this barefoot phase of treadmill running where, I got the super barefoot shoes and I was like, hey, I like this. But I don't know that I was touching my heel.
You probably were. It's probably just super light. Well, were your
I
calves?
preferred running that way, though. I do. I prefer running that way. But then somebody told me that's why my IT band was all a mess.
Probably. What sort of shoes were you wearing before that?
Running shoes.
Yeah, so you probably went from like an 8 or 9 millimeter drop to a 0.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a pretty extreme drop. That's asking a lot of.
I'm the man.
So think about the heel height that you're asking your body to compensate for. It's like 2 centimeters of extra length you're trying to find. Your IT band is going to hurt because it's going to come from the calves, and then that's going to translate up the side of the knee to the IT band where it's going to be yanking. So that kind of makes sense.
Okay, so, but I guess I'm trying to talk about running today because I just think it's the easiest workout. So are you okay with people running, or do you kind of try to get them onto something like, I don't know, elliptical or something, or Nordic track or something?
If people have like chronic knee injuries, then they probably shouldn't be running. I feel like a lot of people aren't prepared to be running, or they don't know how to. Kids are really great at running, but once they get to like elementary school, they get in bigger shoes, and they also start sitting all day. Their hip flexors shorten, and then they end up with kind of a natural heel strike. And then, running, it's strange. It's one of those things that nobody's really taught how to do. Everyone's like, I just run how I run. It's my form. But there is a right way to run. There's a wrong way to run. And there are many wrong ways to run.
I was told about that. I didn't know.
Yeah, like nobody's taught how to run.
No.
Like everyone has
and
a general.
some of us look really funny. I don't look like. I mean, I see some people run, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I almost want to pull over and say, oh, look, you look like a really nice chap.
Believe me, I want to do that too, but I realize that's not appropriate.
That's inappropriate and uncool. Even though you're actually being their best friend.
Yeah. Yeah, because I want to be like, your knees are going to be destroyed if you keep doing this. But I just keep driving and go about my day and let people enjoy their running form.
Anyway, you can meet Parker and get all types of information like this over at the Aspen Clinic. TheAspenClinic.org is the website.
It is. Yep.
AspenClinic.org. And come on down to the Performance Center or stay upstairs in the gym and work out with Jesse. Either way, it's just a great way to work out. We've got to get Jesse in here one day.
Yeah, we should.
Why don't you talk to him and see if he'll come up?
Yeah, I'll get him in here.
Yeah, well, he can drink his Jesse juice if he wants while he's in here. A little
Protein shake.
Anyway, the AspenClinic.org is website. Do you have like a website, like an email or something I can call you if I ever wanted to?
Parker at theaspenclinic.org.
Oh, how's that working out for you?
It is.
Parker at theaspenclinic.org. Parker at theaspenclinic.org. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know I am the man.
It's a fitting song.